YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Xerxes coming back at you with another Path of Exile build for the 3.22 Trial of the Ancestors League. And this one is a spicy one, let me tell you. It's nothing that you might not have heard of before. This is just a, of course I didn't do D&D for the video. Let's get that out of the way real quick. It's a Impending Doom Pathfinder. Okay, so anyone that's been following this channel knows I played the Frostblades Trickster. I got that up to level 98. Loved it. Have nothing but good things to say about it. The only thing that was kind of rough on that one was trying to do uber bosses. You know, you rely on evasion, and you know if you get hit, you're just gonna die. And some of the uber bosses are just kind of tough, and you can't face tank them with that build. So I wanted to put a build together that could basically just face tank the whole fucking game, and that's what this has done. So if you've watched the last video on the Frostblades Trickster, I had about 80 or 90 divines, and I was kind of feeling like, you know what, I might be done with the league. But I was like, yeah, I'm just going to buy an apothecary and see if I can gamble it into a mage blood. And I got lucky, threw it in there, clicked twice and turned one card into four. I took one out, hit it again and got it. So I've never had anywhere near as much currency as I've gotten in this league. I have right now 140 divines left. I probably had about 350 or 360 after I sold the mage blood. So I've invested probably about 150, 160 divines into this build. A lot of that being the Progenesis, which you can 100% play this build without, and an Awakened Spell Cascade, which you can play this build without as well. So you can put this build together for much cheaper. I'm not sure exactly how much it would cost you, but you know, if you got like 80 or 90 divines, you could probably get a pretty solid build going with that much money for sure. It's always hard to say, you know, with prices and stuff like that, but that's just a guess. So you know, as always, we'll do the typical map showcase first, so you can see how the build plays. This is just a T16 strand map that has the Eradicator in there. So we'll run through the map. I'll show you how the build plays, and then I'll go over, you know, piece by piece how I put it together, and we'll go from there. So I played a couple of different builds between the Frostblades Trickster and this one. I did a cast on crit, Cyclone, Ice Spear, Inquisitor. That just felt kind of clunky, didn't like that. I really wanted to put a build together with Crackling Lance because I just love that skill. I think it looks super cool, but tried and just got frustrated with it and said to hell with it. So I was almost done with the league. I was just going to give up, and then I saw this, and I was like, you know what, I'll give this a shot, and I'm glad I did. So let's show you what the mapping looks like, and then we'll go from there. In terms of the playstyle too, it's like if you're worried, oh look at this, like watch, don't give a shit about it. It doesn't matter. Just stand in the middle of everything. I love it. In terms of like being a button intense build too, this is probably one of the least button intense builds that I've ever played. You have to hit Malevolence because it's on Divine Blessing every like 15 seconds, and then you have a Plague Bearer that you can hit if you want to. I mean, you really don't even need it, but it's just there for a little bit of extra damage. Don't give a shit. It's like one of my favorite things is just to stand and all this stuff that might kill normal characters and just laugh at it. The damage is not like the highest damage in the world. I honestly don't really know exactly how much damage I have. It's a poison build, so you know it does take some time to ramp. But if you can sit there and, you know, not give a shit about what the boss is doing while you're ramping, then, you know, it doesn't really matter if you have 10 million or 50 million DPS, honestly, at that point. See, look, hands off the keyboard. It's holding right click. I love it. I'm not going to worry too much about all this stuff. I'll show you what the boss damage is, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of it. Oh, are these like immune or something? Oh yeah, I don't. Every once in a while, I've run across these monsters too. They must have like I think there's a monster that's making them immune or something. I've never seen that before this league. I don't know if that's like a new thing that they brought in this league, but it threw me off the first time I came across one of them. Okay. I am level 99 right now. I ran through the campaign as a poisonous concoction. Pathfinder is actually like some of the easiest leveling that I've ever done. And then right after I finished the campaign, I spent like probably like 25 or 30 divines just to pay someone to do 5 ways until I got up to 99. So I couldn't be bothered to do it on my own. I don't got time for that. So I mean, as you can see, it's not terrible boss damage, you know, but it's just, I mean, it's not the craziest in the world. One thing that's nice is we are completely elemental ailment immune, so shock, we're not going to get shocked or chilled or frozen or any of that stuff, which is always nice. I guess you can't just stand in there forever, but this is like one of my least favorite guys to fight. And he's dead. So like I said, it's nothing to write home about in terms of like single target damage, but you know, for the most part, that guy has some stuff that you can't necessarily just stand in there and tank forever. But like the Searing Exarch with the ball phase, I was just shield charging into the balls and nothing was happening to my life, which was amazing. So I'm gonna go over the defensive layers of the build kind of one by one here. So you guys can get an idea of how we're stacking all of our defenses here. I got a little spreadsheet that I'm going to use to cheat on. Okay, so obviously, well, I can almost not obviously, but we don't have very much armor or evasion, right? We have 865 armor and 15,000 evasion. So you might at first glance go like, what the hell? That's not any defenses at all, right? But in order to deal with physical hits, we're taking physical damage as elemental. So, and we have a bunch of sources of that. Okay, so we'll go over them one by one. So the first one is Taste of Hate. Okay, and as you can see, all of my flasks down here, they just are continuously going. So you pretty much have 100% uptime on all of these flasks. Okay, so 15% of fizz is taken as cold from here. Then we have a lightning coil, which has that bottom line, 50% of fizz is taken as lightning. So that's 65% right there, physical that we're taking as elemental. Then we have 2 crafts on our helm, one being from the Eldritch Implicits, which is 6, and then 7 from a crafted mod that you can get. So that's 13. And then the last one being a Watcher's Eye mod, which is 12% of fizz taken as cold while you're affected by purity of elements, which we are. So all in all, that comes out to 90% physical damage taken as elemental. So our abysmal armor is actually okay at handling that. And one thing you can do to even stack your physical mitigation further is pantheons, right? So if you want to get extra physical damage reduction per enemy nearby, you can do that. Or if you want to, you can run a Dawnbreaker, and that will give you basically physical damage immortality, where you're not going to die to physical damage. It's just going to all get taken as elemental. So that's one thing that you can do. I was running a Dawnbreaker at first, but I decided that I would much rather be curse immune, so that's why I went with an Ad Series Reflection instead. So that is how we handle physical damage. Now the next one is elemental damage, right? So we're taking all that physical damage as elemental damage. How do we mitigate that, right? So you obviously want to make sure that you're capped on your elemental resistances. I have 1 extra fire res, and then everything else is just capped at 75. But on top of that, we are using a topaz, a ruby, and a sapphire flask, and all 3 of these give you 20% less damage taken of their respective element. Okay, so you're converting all of your fizz or most of your fizz to elemental, and then now you're taking 20% less fire, cold, and lightning damage. So you can see how this all starts to kind of stack up, right? The next one being spell suppression, right? So that deals with attacks, right? But if you're taking spell damage, how do you deal with that? Well, obviously you go spell suppression, right? So as you can see, we are 100% spell suppression capped right here, which just basically means that we take 50% less damage straight off the bat from anything that's a spell. And even further on top of that now, I did take one of these tattoos, the Spirit of Ahuana, and whenever you take spell damage from a unique enemy, you're going to get 10% extra reduction from spells from that enemy as well. So our 50% spell damage taken goes up to 60% less spell damage taken when we take a spell from a unique enemy. So that helps with like the uber bosses and, you know, when you're doing map bosses and stuff like that. I did get one max fire res because we're taking so much Fizz is fire, that I wanted to try and get as much fire res as I can. I think there's some other ways that I can do more fire res, but for now I just have this one max fire res tattoo. So that helps a little bit. Further layers of mitigation, like I said earlier, we do have an Aziri's reflection, which means we're basically unaffected by curses. So we can do, you know, Ellie, not that we would have a problem with Ellie weakness, but you know, vulnerability, despair, any of those curses, we're not going to be affected by them at all. And we actually reflect those curses back to enemies that hit us. So the shield is super big for that, right? Now stuns, we're basically immune to stuns, and that's through some tech that I'll go over with you now. That being the blood notch. Okay, so whenever you get stunned, you're going to recover 58% of that damage taken as life. So that in effect with Progenesis, basically you're just going to take a stunning hit and then just shoot back up to full life. And then how we recover from stuns is through immutable force. So we basically have an insane amount of stun and block recovery. I don't think, I've never noticed in any of the maps or anything that I've done where I've felt like I was stunned. I just sit there and just laugh at anything that might stun me. And then the way that we make sure that we're actually able to get stunned is by using Eldritch Battery, and we take this mastery here for our stun threshold to be based on our energy shield. So since we technically don't have any energy shield, right? So because it's protecting our mana and not our life, that is what allows us to be stunned, recover all of that life from stun. So that's how that works, okay? The next defensive layer is critical strike avoidance, and we take care of that through, wait, where's it at? I know it's on here somewhere. Oh, you know what? I might have unspec'd that one. No, it's here, isn't it? Yes, here we go. Okay, so we have enemies poisoned by you cannot deal critical strikes. Okay, so if you want to look and see, just to make sure that you're at 100% chance to poison on your impending doom, you can click on Doom Blast here and then go down to offense and look at chance to poison. And as you can see, we're at 110% chance to poison. So as soon as we hit an enemy with Doom Blast, they are no longer able to crit us. So we're effectively critical strike immune, okay? A couple more little defensive layers that we have in the build. In order to cap our spell suppression, we take spell suppression on a helm, spell suppression on our boots, and then we use tattoos to get the rest of it. One thing to note, I always say this in all my builds that it can throw you off a little bit, is this node right here. When you're checking your spell suppression, it's going to show in game that you have 10% extra because you're in your hideout and you're on full life. So what I always do is just unspec this node first and then check and make sure that I'm still at 100% before I spec this node. So that's something to keep in mind. So we're running spell suppression here. This is the Spirit of Ahuana for the spell suppression of unique enemies. And then I just wanted to make sure that I was keeping my flasks up all the time, so I am running a couple of flask effect duration tattoos here just to make sure that they're never running out. Because like I said, if your flasks run out, you are dead. So you want to make sure that you do that, okay? You want to get some extra life anywhere that you can get it, so I'm running a couple of extra life tattoos here. And then I need a little bit more dexterity in order to use these last couple of tattoos. And so I didn't need the intelligence, so I just did some of these tattoos of the Tuatera in order to give me some more dex. That way I could sacrifice some for these tattoos. So that covers most of the defensive layers, I think, of the build, okay? So the next thing to talk about is kind of like if you're not familiar with how this build works. So basically what we're doing is we have additional curses. I think we get 2 extra sources of it. Okay, so we have an additional curse that we can cast here on our Vixen's entrapment, and then we have the one that we normally start with, and we take Whispers of Doom. That way we have 3 curses that we can apply. Okay, now as you can see in my build, I have 4 curses. So I'm using Temp Chains here, and then there's Punishment, Despair, and enfeeble. So that's 4 total. So you might be going like, hey, you have 1 too many, right? But the way that it works is you want 1 to fall off. And that's what it's actually important how the order in which you socket these in the Vixens. So the one that you want to fall off, you need to put in this first slot right here. So for me, that's punishment, right? So I'm going to curse everything. And then since I'm going over my curse limit, one of those curses is going to fall off. And that in that case, it's punishment. And that triggers Doom Blast, right? So this says trigger the skill when a hex from supported skills ends. So when punishment gets taken off, Doom Blast happens, and then that's where all of your damage comes from. It's a little bit kind of tricky, but that's just like a kind of basic premise of how the build works. Okay, so you're basically just casting temp chains. All the other ones are getting cast as well through Vixens because this says trigger socketed curse spells when you cast a curse spell. So you cast temp chains, all of these get cast. Punishment will be the one that is beyond your limit. It'll fall off and all of the other ones will apply. So that's a kind of basic breakdown of how the build works. Okay. So one thing you need to do in this build as well is it's just like cast on crit where there's a tick rate and you want to make sure that you are within the realm of like what's acceptable for how fast you're casting versus how fast Doom Blast cooldown is. So there's a spreadsheet that I looked at, and I will include that down in the video description where you can take a look at it. You input basically your temporal chains cast speed. So you go here, you look at cast speed modifier. You'll plug this into where the section is on the Google spreadsheet. It'll ask you about your cooldown reduction, and I think you can find that here, which is at 12% right now. But you will also, if you're doing this properly, be running a Balance of Terror, which says 24% increased cooldown recovery rate if you've cast temp chains in the past 10 seconds, which you're always going to be doing. So you'll take this, you'll add it with that 12%, you'll plug it in there, and that'll be your number for that. And the only other thing to do in that spreadsheet is to look at action speed. And for most people, I believe the only source of action speed is going to be from the boot implicit, and I have 4. So you plug that in there, and it'll show you whether you're in the green, the yellow, or the red. If you're in the red, you obviously want to change some stuff. Yellow you can get away with, but you want to be in the green, and it's basically just making sure that you're not wasting any time between Doom Blast casts. Okay, so I know that's a little tricky for some people, but that's how you want to make sure that you're maximizing your damage. Okay, and now let's just go over. I'll go over all of the gear real quick with you guys piece by piece, so you can kind of see what the thought process was. So as I said, you want spell. You're basically looking for spell suppression, life, fizz taken as extra elemental, or not extra, but fizz taken as Ellie. Okay, so just have a lion pelt here with life and some res, and then those 2 fizz taken as mods. Enfeeble curse effect. I've been rolling trying to get temp chains curse effect, but I haven't had any luck yet, so I just stuck with that one. We'll go over what is socketed in here. So we have Divergent Herald of Agony. This just basically gives us an extra chance to poison from the Divergent, so if you can get that, you should. Purity of Elements. We don't have a whole lot of space to run resistances on here, and it's nice just to not have to worry about being frozen, chilled, shocked, any of that stuff. So definitely run Purity of Elements. I'm running an Enlighten just to save a little bit of space. I was thinking about possibly putting in a different aura in here. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not, but I would need an Enlighten 4 if I do that. So and that's actually later on in the video. I got a little secret gamble for you guys that if you stick around, so I'll show you guys that later. But and then Grace, right? You want to have a little bit of evasion if you can get it, so Grace is good for that. Okay, and then like I said, we're running a lightning coil here. +1 socketed gems is great. You're just going to get +1 to all of your gems that are in here. And we're running divergent temp chains. This just gives you an extra 10% cast speed on temp chains, so if you can get that, I believe that's the best alt quality to get. Spell Cascade. You can run another Awakened Spell Cascade in here. I don't necessarily think that you need it. It might be way better. I haven't tried it. I just wasn't bothered to try and spend another 30 Divines if I wasn't sure that it was worth it or not. And then we're running just some Awakened Support Gems for the Doom Blast. So Awaken Unbound Ailments. This is obviously the Doom Blast, Awaken Deadly Elements, and then Awaken Void Manipulation. Not a lot of these weren't very expensive. Obviously, the Awakened Spell Cascade is the super juicy one. Okay, the Claw. I'm not sure if this is the best one. I went on PoE Ninja and looked at a bunch of people that were playing this build, and most of their weapons were similar to this. You can run a Cane of Kulamak and not run a shield. That might be much more damage, but a little bit less survivability. But basically, you're just looking for cast speed, dot multi, chance to poison, and chaos, and the crafted chaos damage with skill effect duration. I think I paid like 4 or 5 divines for this this weapon. Might be an easier way to craft it, and just couldn't be bothered to look into it. So that's the weapon. The amulet is I got a fractured base dot multi. I think I paid like 8 divines for the fractured base, hit it with some cast speed essences, and then called that good. You do want to anoint skittering runes on your amulet, which is this node here, which gives you AoE of hex skills and reduced mana cost of curse skills, which is actually really important. So as you can see with my flask going right now, Temp Chains only cost 6 mana, and everything else is completely free. Nothing else costs mana. You can craft minus mana cost on your amulet if you want to get that down to 0. But I mean, as you can see, I'm never going to run out of mana. So I had minus mana cost on there, and I was thinking like, you know what, do I need that? And I didn't, so I put life on there just to get my life pull up a little bit higher. Okay, the shield, like I said, at Zeri's Reflection, if you can get one with increased max life, that's probably best in slot. Corrupt for this build. The rings, this is where you do need to have some source of minus mana cost. You can get it here and sacrifice it here if you want, but we want to be chaos res capped. So I just looked for a ring that had a shit ton of chaos res, life, an open prefix, and then the damage taken recouped his life was actually a nice little bonus too. So sniped that one for like a couple of divines, I think. Very similar over here. I needed some strength and intelligence, so I got one with that. I would like to get some life on here, but for now it's good. And Vixen's entrapment, we already went over that. Basically, that you need this. This is like the build enabler. You have to have this these gloves, and they're very cheap. So it's probably the cheapest part of the whole build. The boots, res is tough. I actually didn't notice until just recently. I was wondering why I didn't have as much lightning resistance when I was putting the character together, but lightning coil gives you minus 60 res, so that's why. So I needed a shit ton of lightning res, so I found some that had a bunch of that, chance to suppress, a little bit of life, and the onslaught on kill is nice while you're mapping. Then you want to roll this with action speed and the dealing damage faster for your poisons, okay? So that covers all of the gear. We will go over the flasks now. So this, make sure that we get chaos res capped. If you can't afford this, you can just run like a life flask in here, and then maybe just be a little bit less than capped on your chaos, because you can see I'm over capped by 30 right now. So you could probably get away with just running a life flask here. You do want to have one flask that has regen 3% of life per second during effect. And then you also want to have another one with 25% reduced mana cost of skills. I don't have those crafts unlocked. I just went on TFT and found someone to craft them on there for me. So, and then on the prefix, you're either looking for gain charges when you're hit or reduced charges per use. I think either one of those is okay. So that covers the two that you are definitely going to want to use. And then this one, I just got reduced effective curses because I wasn't using the at Zeri's Reflection. So this one I actually need to re-roll into something different. Not sure exactly what I need yet, but I'll do that later. And then the Taste of Hate, you just want to get one with a max roll of 15% fizz taken as cold. Okay, so that covers all of that. We'll go over some of the other socketed things that are in here. So we have Plague Bearer. Like I said, I have that on my Q button, and you just pop that every once in a while you're mapping for a little bit of extra poison damage. Shield Charge for movement, and then Flame Dash if you need to get over a wall. We have Immortal Call with cast when damage taken here, and it's important to make sure that your level of cast when damage taken is not too high to where it won't support this. So it says we'll only support gems requiring level 56 or lower, and this requires level 56. So I'm keeping them here for now, and it seems to work out pretty good. Withering Step just to inflict withered and give elusive. And then we have, like I mentioned earlier, the order, and here is important. So punishment's the one that's going to fall off. If you want to do more damage, you can, if you have like maybe a Vixen's that has all white sockets or something where you can interchange these, you could switch punishment with Enfeeble or despair, I guess. I think enfeeble would be the better one. So you would want to put enfeeble here and then punishment here, and then you're going to do a shit ton more damage to enemies once they fall below half life. That is something to think about. I would just rather have the tankiness, and that's why I went with this for the 18% less damage taken from rare or unique enemies. So, and then here, this is our malevolence, right? It's on divine blessing. So I believe it's like 15 seconds that it lasts. Let's see here. Yeah, like 19 seconds. So every 19 seconds, you're going to have to pop this again. This just gives you a huge damage over time multiplier boost. So you want to run Divine Blessing with the anomalous increased duration if you can. This gives you reduced mana cost for your malevolence, and then same thing with Divergent Inspiration. This gives you reduced mana cost. So I have enough energy shield where I don't think that I need to run these, but if you're a little bit light on your energy shield, you might not be able to do it without these two. And then just a malevolence in here. So that covers all of the gear, and that's pretty much how you play the build. One thing that I wanted to do, since I did spend so much time in 5 ways, is I wanted to do a little gamble and put it on stream. That way you guys can suffer with me. So what I have here is there's 6 enlightens that are all level 3, and then 1 empower, 1 enhance, and 1 unnatural instinct. One thing I was going to do, I'll show you guys actually, just so you can keep this in mind. If you have another place where you can put a jewel, you can put your unnatural instinct here. And then what you can do is use cold res tattoos. So you can put a +1 cold res here, +1 cold res here, and +1 cold res here. And what unnatural instinct does is even if you don't have these allocated, you're going to get that plus cold res, right? So I could get 3 extra cold res, max cold res, just from doing that. But so far I haven't felt the need to do it. So if it was fire, I would probably do that, but I can't do it since these are dex nodes and you need strength nodes in order to do that. So I picked up the unnatural instinct, not going to use it. So we're gonna throw some vol orbs here at some jewels, and let's see what we do. So I'm just gonna hit them all, and then we'll go back and check them one by one. I think I paid like around like 1.2 to 1.5 divines for the enlightens. The unnatural instinct was 4, and then each of these was probably about like 80 chaos or something like that. So boom, 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 boom. Oh, don't brick on me, unnatural instinct. Let's see what we got. Oh shit. No way. That's crazy. That's a huge hit right there. Oh man. That's funny. I was thinking, man, like corrupted blood would be huge on that, and then we hit it. Wow. Okay, so that's that probably pays for all of the other ones right there. Wow, that's tight. All right, let's check this. Level 323. Level 320, nothing happened there. If I get 1 level 4 out of any of these, I'm gonna be fucking juiced. Woo! No way. That's crazy. All right, we're winning big today. Level 320, level 320, level 3, level 3. Hey, none of them de-leveled or anything. So hey, that's a huge hit. I'm kind of curious just to see how much these are worth. I haven't even looked yet. Let's take a look. I got Awakened PoE trade going in the background. Let's see. What is this at? 10 divines. That's sick. Okay, so that literally paid for the entire gamble. And then an unnatural instinct with CB is yo, 70 divines. Wow, that's sick. All right, well, hey, if you guys stuck around till the end, hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you got any questions or anything on the build. I'd be more than happy to help. Drop a like down below if you can, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.